Welcome to the 100th episode of Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I'm Kathleen Gage, and I am your host. And it's been amazing to do 100 episodes, interview people from virtually all walks of life who are plant-based eaters. The number one criteria, if you've been listening to my show, for anybody who's on my show, is that they must be void of all animal and dairy products. And it's been an interesting journey. So stick around, and I'm going to share with you some of the highlights.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Get ready to hear from doctors, nutritionists, experts, and everyday men and women committed to creating a powerful life in mind, body, and soul through ethical food choices. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
Well, in the 100 episode period that I've been doing my show, it's been nearly 3 years. We're coming up on 3 years in March, so we're just a few months shy of that. And I've interviewed somebody who lost 275 pounds by going plant-based. I've interviewed people who have gained weight because of going plant-based. I've interviewed people who have reversed type 2 diabetes many times on my show with people going plant-based. And one of the things that I really want to differentiate with my show is that it's plant-based health eating. It's not just plant-based processed food eating. And I have found it interesting how there are people who immediately put down the plant-based lifestyle because they really don't understand it. First of all, people say the vegan diet, and want to clarify that. And today I'm just talking off the cuff, talking about things that are important to me as somebody who's been doing this for nearly 4 years. Recently, I interviewed Linda Middlesworth, who has been a plant-based vegan eater for 34 years. She's 78 years old, and she's in phenomenal shape and health. And she is really defying all the odds of what most people at the age of 78 experience in their life. She's disease-free. She's healthy. She actually teaches kickboxing. She does weight training classes. She does meditation, yoga. Actually, she doesn't teach yoga, but she does do yoga, and she clarified that for me. But she's just a phenomenal woman who's been doing this for 34 years. I've interviewed the author of the China Study, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and he is in his late 80s, phenomenal man who, again, is defying all the odds. I've interviewed a woman from the UK who is raising her baby as a vegan plant-based child, and she actually had people threatening to turn her into social services for child abuse. And that doesn't make sense to me, because if you look at the statistics, if you look at the health crisis that we're going through, not just in the United States, but globally, we'll stick with the United States for a moment. In the year 2030, it's predicted that over 50% of the population, including children, will be obese and overweight. 50%. Now, you go back to the 50s. I was born in 1954, and in the 50s, you didn't see that kind of obesity. What happened? Well, a lot of what happened is factory farming. A lot of what happened is the food manufacturers that are basically manipulating people to convince them that meat is a good thing to eat. Dairy is a good thing to eat. And dairy by far is one of the worst things that you can put into your body, not just because it clogs your arteries, not just because it causes disease like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, cancers of many sorts, heart disease, but it's got toxins in it. Pus in it. There's a certain percentage of pus that milk can have in it, and it qualifies as okay. And so as I've been doing a lot of research from when I first became plant-based to what my motivation now is, it's been really amazing what I've learned in the time that I've been doing this. When I first went plant-based, September 16th, 2018, I did it for inflammation reasons. I wanted to get rid of inflammation. I had inflammation in my wrists, and as a writer, it was really hindering my ability to comfortably do my work. And so I did research and looked at what do I need to do to minimize inflammation. I didn't even think of getting rid of it. I just wanted to minimize it without doing drugs. Well, everything I read indicated that if I got rid of meat and dairy, that the inflammation would minimize and possibly go away. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to give it 7 days. I'll try it for 7 days and I'll see what happens. And at that point, I had actually gone back to one of my heaviest weights that I had been. I've been a yo-yo dieter all my life, and I finally gave up on diets at the age of 64. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to eat, and that's the way it is. I'll stay chunky and I won't have the energy that I want to have, but I don't want to have inflammation. Well, what was interesting is within 2 days, the inflammation was literally gone. I had no pain in my wrist. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. At the end of a week, I weighed myself and I had dropped 5 pounds. And I thought, well, I'm not on a diet, but I'm losing weight. So I thought, okay, I'll give it another 7 days. After the second 7 days, I noticed my energy was increasing. I was running at the time, and I struggled with running because I was carrying about an extra 50 pounds at the time. And yet I would get out there and exercise thinking that that was doing me good. And it was probably doing me more harm than good because of the excess weight I was carrying. But I started dropping, at the end of the second week, I believe I dropped about 10 pounds. And I was like, this is incredible. I was feeling better than I had felt in a while. My focus was getting better. I had more energy, and my recovery time with running was increasing. Or I should say it was minimizing. The amount of time it took me to recover was a lot less than it had been. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try it for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, I dropped about 14, 15 pounds. I was feeling better than I had in a while. I had more energy. I was sleeping better. And I was following the protocol of Dr. Joel Fuhrman in his book, Eat to Live. And basically what he says is it's a whole food plant-based diet, no added salt, no added oil, no added sugar, no processed sugar. Fruits are okay, but you don't want to eat fruits to excess. And so I followed his eating protocol. I don't want to call it a diet because I really saw it as a protocol more than a diet. And I didn't want to have that word diet in my head because every time I've dieted, I lost the weight and then I would go looking for the weight. I'd find it and some. So at the end of 3 months, I actually lost about 38 pounds, and it blew me away because I was not trying to lose weight. And then what I realized is I was actually losing too much weight. So I had to focus on adding certain foods in that would put more calories, and I had to make sure that I was eating enough. So I made sure to eat nuts and avocado. So when it comes to oils, the oils are the processed oils, olive oil, vegetable oil, palm oil. You definitely don't want to do that because that deals with the orangutans, and which really leads into the next level of what I started realizing about my journey as a plant-based eater. What I really began to understand was that now it was not just about me and my health. Now it was about actually educating people about what I was learning. It was also realizing the harm that was being done to animals because I seriously did not know about factory farming. And if I did, I kind of minimized it and I buried my head in the sand. I just was like, okay, it doesn't really, my choices aren't going to make that much of a difference. That was the mentality that I had. And now I know that my choices do make a huge difference because by my choices, I can either live as an example of what's possible, I can inspire others to make changes in their life, or I can be a warning of what not to do. And when I first started eating plant-based, I was more of a warning of what not to do. I was overweight. I had high blood pressure. My doctor was saying you need to lose some weight because you are at risk for a stroke and heart disease. And these were things that I kept minimizing. But as you get into your 50s and 60s and eventually your 70s, hopefully, and maybe 80s and 90s, you realize that these are real diseases that are impacting the majority of the population. And so I did a lot of research on factory farming. I watched movies like Dominion. I'm trying to think of the names of the movies. I'll put it down below. But I looked at a lot of documentaries to do with factory farming. I looked at a lot of documentaries to do with plant-based eating and health. I looked at a lot of documentaries about the environment. And then that went to the next level. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you make the decision to change the way you're eating, you might start with plant-based and you might say, okay, I'm not a vegan. And that was me. When I first started, it's like, nope, I'm not a vegan. I don't want to be a vegan. I don't want to identify as a vegan. And now my company is called Vegan Visibility because as the layers and the veils are stripped away, and like they say, the onion, when you peel away the onion peel and you get to the heart of the matter, you realize there's many, many, many things that contribute to the demise of people's health, the demise of what's happening with animals, the demise of the environment. And you look at the climate crisis going on. It's not just climate change. We are in a climate crisis right now. And there are people denying it. There are people saying it's not real. It's conspiracy theory. You can look at the number of floods that we're dealing with, the fires, the massive, massive, massive fires. We're in fire season right now. And in California, near Yosemite, it's burning up again. There's one area where in the last 2 weeks, there's been 3 major fires that they've tried to contain and they're not able to contain. So for me, what it's been a journey. And recently I was on TikTok and there was a woman who she did a video about how bad plant-based diets are. And it's like, it was a blanket statement. And what she was actually saying as we dug deeper, because I said, no, that's not necessarily true. And her position is processed plant-based diets are not healthy. I agree with that. Processed food of any type has chemicals in it. It has toxins in it. Likely it has a lot of sugar and salt and oil in it. So processed is processed is processed. And you can be a vegan and eat really unhealthy. And that's been the big discussion within the vegan and the plant-based world, that some vegans say it's not about health at all. And they get really upset if you talk about health. I'm a vegan. I have a shirt that says vegan AF, and you figure out what the AF is. And I also focus on eating healthy, because if I'm not healthy, I cannot do my activism work. I cannot do my advocacy work. And what I've also discovered is we might think that we're supposed to be doing one type of activism and advocacy work. And then we discover, wait a minute, maybe it's about using the skills that I have, and that's my advocacy work and that's my activism work. For example, when I first started, I really got how healthy this was, because my health completely turned around. And when I realized how healthy this was, I actually got my certification through Cornell University in plant-based nutrition. And so I thought I was going to be a nutritionist, and I started going down that path. And what I realized is that's not really my passion. I love to talk to people about it. That's why I have my podcast show. I actually have 2 podcast shows. This one, Plant-Based Eating for Health. And by the way, I'm Kathleen Gage. And you can also find Vegan Visibility. Vegan Visibility is more about the business side of being vegan. It's about how vegan businesses can actually grow and thrive and get profitable. But as I started looking at what my skill set is, what my passion is, what I realized is within the vegan world, my skill set is something that's highly valued. And so I made a decision actually to rebrand my business to Vegan Visibility. So if you go to veganvisibility.com, that's veganvisibility.com, you'll see what I do. And basically, I work with clients who want to gain massive visibility. It could be through writing a book and doing a book launch. It could be through podcast appearances. It could be through putting on summits. And within a very short period of time of making that decision and really focusing on gaining visibility within the vegan market, I started getting a lot of visibility, and people were saying, you came out of nowhere. How did you do it? Well, I applied the very same strategies that I teach my clients. And the very first thing I did, and if you go look at my website, you'll see some of what I do. But the first thing I did was I created a virtual summit. And I looked at the people within the industry who are marketers. And I thought, okay, who are the top marketers within the vegan industry? And who do I know? Well, the first person I approached is Katrina Fox. Katrina Fox is a phenomenal publicist. She was a journalist at one point. She's got an amazing membership program. And I approached her and I said, hey, I'm going to be doing this summit. Would you like to be one of my experts? She said yes, right off the bat. Then I went to Stephanie Red Cross West and I said, Katrina's in. Would you like to be a part of this? She said yes. Then I went to David Pinnell and Lisa Fox and I said, these other folks are in. Would you like to be in? And basically, that's the process I went through. And I had Matali, who is the vegan publisher. I had Elizabeth Alfano. I had Ginger Burr, who's an image consultant and Your Image in Business. And so what I did is I actually went to the people who could help raise my visibility within the market. It's been just over a year. And in that time, not only have I done the summit, I actually have been on a number of podcast shows. I was a keynote speaker at the Plant-Based Ambassador Certification Program, which I was the marketing director for that event. It was through WeDidIt.health. And one thing led to another. And it basically was, I had a vision and I put the steps in place to manifest that vision. So with Plant-Based Eating for Health, my podcast show and my blog, when I do a podcast show like with this one, it will go on my Plant-Based Eating for Health blog. And I will highlight some of the things that I've talked about, as I do with my guests. Episode 101 is going to be Linda Middlesworth, and a phenomenal woman, 34-year vegan. She is 78 years old. She's healthy. She is the co-founder of vDog. That's v-dog.com. And it's just been an incredible journey of meeting more and more people who are committed to this lifestyle. Now, the thing to keep in mind is not everybody's going to support you 100% when you make this change. That is one thing that I discovered. People call you crazy vegans. And I look at it and I think, okay, who's crazy? The people that are consuming animal and dairy and increasing their chances for heart disease, increasing their chances for cancer, increasing their chances for type 2 diabetes, increasing their chances of stroke, or those of us who have done the research and we realize that the healthiest way to eat is with a whole food, plant-based diet, a protocol. And many people who start out plant-based become vegan for the animals, for the environment, and for their health. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health, encouraging you. Take a look at what you're doing in your own life and a day at a time, make the changes that are going to give you the quality of life that makes you thrive and go beyond where you ever thought you could go. Have a wonderful day and be blessed.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.